The morning I woke up, it was my birthday. I was happy because we have a dinner, family dinner at home at this evening, and quit early in the morning my home. My sister was there. She was married and she was pregnant. She was on her honeymoon because she was living in France on those years. She just came to visit my dad. And when I returned from the university around 2 p.m., I discovered all around the block the police and all, with the ambulance, the fire departments. And when I don't know what's happened, and they don't let me in the building, then into our apartment. I went there in the corner, understand that something happens, and they explain me that a bomb explodes, and my fathers are in the hospital. I was 20 years old. It was the day of my 20th birthday. And, then I got to meet my sister at the hospital, where my father was. They explained us. Then he lost his hands, and he was very seriously injured. He has his belly opened by the bomb. He lost his sight. It was terrible. And thanks God, my mother was in France. She was not there. She flew 2 or 3 days later. But thanks God, we have a very good friend of him who were across, who was there and took the things in hands. When they stabilized him at the hospital, they sent him to a private hospital in Buenos Aires. Then a day later, they tell us that we need to move my father from there because they receive a threat from the terrorists and an anonymous call. Then they will blow up this private hospital where he was, if my father is still there. Then in Argentina, we have some contacts, and the government don't want to, the embassy call the government, and the government said, okay, no problem, bring them to the military hospital, and they took care of my dad. They sent an escort ambulance to the military hospital in Buenos Aires, Militar Hospital de Buenos Aires on those years. And then when they definitely stabilized him, we flew back from France 2 or 3 weeks later. And when he arrived in France don't have too much experience about this kind of injury, as a bomb injury. And they recommend us to go to the American hospital in Paris, because the American hospital have doctors, surgeons, specialized in people who are injured by bombs from the Vietnam. And they send them to Paris because the war was starting out on those years in Beirut, and a lot of Lebanese people come to Paris to cure their injury. That was the reason, because we seem to send him to the US. We want to bring him at the best place to try to save him and then for his recovery. When we arrived at the hospital, they discovered that he had gangrene, and they need to cut more his injury, his hands, etc., his arms, and my father lost both of his hands on this bombing. But they saved him, and he survived, and he passed away 10 years ago. We feel very alone, that's the truth. We feel completely alone, completely abandoned by the French authorities, by our friends don't understand what that was. Was one of the first terrorist victims on the world, those years. And they have kind of denied by the people. We feel very alone, very lonely, very lonely. You have two kind of people. You have people who stand up and go and fight, and people who say, "Oh, look at this fatality," and they lie on their life, and that's it. I think God build me another way, build me a way to fight, to rebuild myself, and it was not conscience. It was not my conscience who asked me to do that. It was something else, and I fought. I fought all of my life, and I'm a fighter. But maybe because I was born like that, I don't know. But it was my kind of therapy.